Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. So, legacy automakers are getting kicked out of China, while the Chinese are coming for them here in Europe. As I will show you in this video, the Chinese car industry's export of vehicles has increased faster than a rocket. And while this is playing out, the premium ICE cars are getting beaten by the electric version on basically every single matrix, including price. But what does the Volkswagen Group want to do with all this competition and trouble they're in? Well, they will spend 1/3 of their EV budget on ICE cars. Yes, this is starting to get really ugly very fast. So let's check it all out and let's dive right in. I think people are underestimating what is happening in the car industry right now and how fast it is actually going, and what kind of trouble the legacy automakers are in. Because if you think China will not take over the world with affordable electric vehicles, I think you need to look at this chart, where we can see what is actually going on. If we look back 5 years to 2019, China was nothing when it came to exporting cars. No one wanted their ICE vehicles. They have tried desperately to become part of the ICE industry for many years, but no one wanted their copies of Mercedes or whatever they came up with. But that has changed because the EV race really started to take off when Tesla launched the Model 3. And BYD had been there making crappy EVs for a long time. Remember, BYD was the company Elon laughed at in the interview back in 2011.
And as you're familiar with, BYD, which is also on the West Coast, I think they're ramping up production of their electric vehicles. Warren Buffett owns 10% stake in that. Why do you laugh? BYD is trying to compete. Why do you laugh?
Have you seen their car?
When the host compared Tesla's upcoming Model S with the BYD at the time, and that was a crappy little EV that didn't sell well, and BYD left the US altogether because of that, because they never got any traction with that EV. But they continued making EVs, and this was 12 years ago, and BYD kept pushing and making their product better and better and better. Meanwhile, the legacy automakers did nothing. They just looked at the EVs and thought it would all just die and go away. But it didn't. And after Tesla's success with the Tesla Model 3, getting EVs into the mass market in high volume for the first time, and then the Chinese EVs were getting mature as well, and as we can see on this chart, China took off like a rocket. Even just back in 2021, they were still smaller than all the other guys here on this chart. But starting Q1 of 2023, China did become the world's largest car exporter, surpassing Japan. And we can see that China is still rising, and Japan and the other legacy automakers will probably fall even further. This disruption is happening, and it is the old guys that are losing. But the Chinese have only just begun. I know they still have quite a long way to go to get some huge traction, especially here in Europe, but they are here and is expected to get like 25% market share in 2024. And last year, MG did become the 6th best-selling EV brand in Europe. And they are all Chinese. And the MG4 did become the 4th best-selling EV overall. So it's not like the Chinese are not here. They are. But they have just gotten started. As we see someone like Xpeng really trying to do their best to simply copy Tesla's success with the Model Y. They're coming out with their G6 that looks like a clone of the Model Y, but here in Europe they did undercut the price of the Model Y just a little bit. But Tesla has reduced their price yet again, so now they are very similar priced. But Xpeng has also just unexpectedly unveiled the name and an official image of the first model of their sub-brand codename Mona, ahead of the official launch later this month. The first model in the Mona lineup is called Xpeng M03. Yes, a bit confusing that they still call the model Xpeng. But anyway, this is a nice looking car, looks very much like BYD's Seal, but it will cost only about $20,000 in China. So a very compelling price point. And that is just from Xpeng. We have a whole army of cars coming from China, and no, their new energy vehicle market is not slowing down as many want you to believe. China's new energy vehicle penetration at retail was a record 47% in May, up 14 percentage point from 33% year over year. So like I said in other videos, there is a good chance that China will reach close to 60% by the end of this year, in my opinion. But almost half of the car industry in the world's biggest car market is plug-ins. But it's all hybrids, right? Because that is what we're hearing from the mainstream media and legacy automakers. No, legacy automakers are trying to tell everyone that hybrid is the thing that everyone wants now, because they can't really make EVs that sell very well and are losing billions of dollars on doing so, so they want people to buy their stupid hybrid vehicles instead. Because if you look at the numbers for May of this year, battery electric vehicles, BEVs, accounted for 62% of all new energy vehicles retail sales in May at 495,000 units. That is up 27.4% year over year and up 22.2% from April. So not shrinking, but still growing. And is still by far the biggest share of the market. Yes, hybrids are also growing, also because legacy automakers are pushing for it, but this will not last very long in my opinion. BEVs are the clear future. And Norway has already shown us that this is the case, and the rest of us Scandinavians are following suit, and so is China. And they are now ready to take on the world. So this is not something that will happen overnight, as I have heard from many people. BYD, didn't they build these huge ships to transport cars around the world, so why aren't we seeing them here in Europe? Well, we are, but it does take time for BYD to get all these cars shipped around the world and get them out to dealerships and get them to the customers through the dealerships they have to work with here in Europe, as they don't have their own dealerships. All of this takes a lot of time, but we are seeing growth from BYD in Europe. Last year they only had 0.8% BEV market share, but they have already more than doubled that market share this year to 1.8%. So they are growing, and this will only speed up. But get all of this going does take a lot of time, and they still need most people that here in Europe that don't follow the EV news but are just looking for an electric vehicle to know the brand BYD, because that is not given. But the Chinese electric vehicles are growing, and as we can see on this chart, very, very fast. It's not like they are not exporting, but not only to Europe, they are exporting to the whole world, including Africa and South Africa. So they are trying to get a foothold globally, not just in Europe. And that is also why the US have made their 100% tariff of Chinese vehicles, because they are seeing that the Chinese has become the biggest exporters of cars in the world, and they're trying to protect their homegrown players. And the Chinese are killing the legacy automakers in China at the same time. But haven't you seen that EVs are down in Europe? Yes, Germany, which is the biggest car market in Europe. So whatever happens here will affect the overall car market in Europe, and they cut all incentive on EVs in December of last year. So of course BEVs are down in Germany, and therefore we see a bad Q1 in Europe for BEVs, where even the Volkswagen group were down 24.3% year over year in Europe. But this will correct itself, and Volkswagen even said that their order backlog stock doubled in Q1 with 154% year over year. So it's not like the interest for BEV has suddenly just collapsed. But the sales in China are still struggling for the legacy automakers. As we have seen experts in the car industry talk about before, that they don't see the same brand loyalty as we did with ICE cars. I even talked to a woman last weekend that was looking for an EV to buy. And she was driving a Mercedes ICE car now, so she thought, well, I will probably just go try a Mercedes EV and call it a day. But then she also tried out a Polestar and a Ford Mach-E and so many others, and found that Mercedes EVs was not the easy choice that their ICE cars had been. She didn't think she would buy a Mercedes because, as she said, they were just too expensive for what you got. And that was before all the extras that comes on top of the sticker price. And this is even more true in China, where the Chinese don't feel like Mercedes, BMW or Audi is delivering anything special when it comes to EVs. And the Chinese players are much closer on bringing in software-defined vehicles than the legacy automakers ever will be. So when the biggest car market on the planet, where many of the German car makers make like 40% of their sales and close to 50% of their profits, and already have close to 50% of the market being new energy vehicles, and you are nowhere close to that share in your production, and at the same time your EVs are not even compelling enough for customers to choose them over the homegrown favorites. Well, that is spelling trouble for the legacy automakers in China. But on top of not having a compelling enough EV for the price you pay, well, EVs are quickly becoming the obvious choice for the majority of people, especially for the premium brands like the Germans, because Tesla has already made sure that the price parity in the premium segment is already here. Actually, it has already exceeded the ICE car by a long shot. Take a look at this comparison. Timmy on X made yet another comparison, this time between the Tesla Model 3 Performance, the refreshed version here, and the Mercedes AMG C43. And it's an AMG, so this is a car that is made for performance, right? But this is still an ICE car, so of course it loses to Tesla in performance. I could even take my old 2019 Model 3 long range with my acceleration boost and beat the AMG. Yeah, performance ICE cars are just dead. That has basically become the norm, right? You know, if you hear a car roars and scream, it is slow. Like the Dodge Challenger here in this video, screaming its lungs out, but the Tesla Model S Plaid takes it to school with no sound at all. Tesla. But the Model 3 Performance here also wins on every single other spec. And then you see the price difference. The Mercedes cost almost $79,000, whereas the brand new refreshed Model 3 Performance cost $57,000. But as I've showed before, the old guys stripped down their cars of all the nice stuff. So if you want to buy something that is truly a comparison to the Tesla Model 3, you have to add all of these extras here that is included with your Tesla. Like if you want ventilated seats in your Mercedes, you have to pay almost 3,000 euros extra. Or preheating system, 1,500 euros. Or the premium sound system, 1,200 euros. Can you really call the car a premium car without all of these premium features that they have taken away? It should be a premium car with that premium price tag, but all the premium features are taken away. Yeah, these guys are losing big right now. You don't get a stripped down Tesla. Tesla doesn't do that. But with the Mercedes, you have to add on another $11,500 on top of the already more expensive Mercedes. And it will end up costing 90,000 euros. More than 30,000 euros more than the Tesla that has just beaten it on all metrics. And that includes beating it on safety assist feature and software and so on. I don't think you will find many customers that are that loyal. Some might, but the majority will no doubt go for the Tesla instead. Here, there is just no competition. But Mercedes quality versus Tesla. Well, let's take a look at Mercedes EV quality versus Tesla's.
2023 EQS. '23 Tesla Model 3. I don't know who set to test this, but it's incredibly solid. Everything about it. They've definitely upped their game.
But in the premium segment, Tesla has kind of set the benchmark of what you get. Yes, you might not like the simplicity of the interior and might prefer Mercedes hand-stitched leather or whatever. That is one thing, but Tesla really sets the benchmark for what is included in the price. The standard Model 3 still gets all the features like ventilated seat, panoramic roof, sound system, preheating system, safety assist features and software and so on and so on. But that car only cost $39,000 in the US. So for Mercedes to compete with a car like this, that still includes all the features you have to pay extra for Mercedes, you have to go find a Mercedes that cost $28,000. Well, good luck with that. The premium ICE car is dead. But it won't be long before every segment of the ICE car is dead. But unfortunately, Volkswagen seem to have not got the memo, as Volkswagen will spend billions of dollars of its EV development budget on, yes you guessed it, gas engines. You know, we heard for so many years how Volkswagen would spend 180 billion euros or $196 billion on their EV shift. This was set aside in 2023 primarily for the next generation EVs. The German brand will now use 1/3 to continue the development of the combustion engine. The company intends to invest roughly 60 billion euros or $65 billion to keep our combustion cars competitive. What? You have got to be kidding me, Volkswagen. Like the shift to EVs was not going to be expensive enough, you decided to spend 1/3 of the budget planned for your EVs transition to make the car that is dying. You are spending $65 billion on the flip phone. Oh my god, the legacy automakers are just failing in so many ways. It is amazing. I have less and less faith in the legacy automakers to even survive this shift. They constantly make the wrong choices, in my opinion, of course. This will be a very expensive mistake from Volkswagen. It's not like they have this kind of money to just throw around. The reason why they went public with Porsche was, of course, because they needed that money. And now they want to spend it on a flip phone in 2024. Yeah, you just can't fix stupid. The Chinese are coming with an army of electric vehicles that is still rising quickly. And legacy automakers are losing the battle in China. And Volkswagen's countermove is to bet on the dying technology. Well, good luck with all of that, but don't say I didn't warn you. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.